Do you know who the U.S. Marshals really are and what they do? In this episode, we show you. And the Spokane Police Department demonstrates what to do if you're pulled over. And we have some important gun safety tips for you. Also, the FBI and the U.S. Secret Service return to talk about how your money is being stolen from your pocket by thieves living in Russia and how the Nigerian black cash scam works. Can anything be done to stop it? Stay here. This is The Badge. You see those flashing blue and red lights in your rearview mirror, and your heart starts to pound, your hands begin to get clammy, and you start thinking of an excuse. But just by following some simple guidelines, a traffic stop can be less intimidating. First, acknowledge the stop by turning on your turn signal and slowing down. Select a safe place to pull off the road. Once you are safely stopped, roll down your window and turn off your engine. Stay in your vehicle with your seatbelt buckled and your hands on the wheel at 10 and 2. Terry Priniger, an instructor for the Spokane Police Department, explains more about what happens during a traffic stop and what you and your passenger should do.
You know why I'm stopping you today?
No, I don't.
You ran the stop sign back there at Trent and Waterworks. I'm Terry Priniger, Spokane Police Department. Just remember, when we make a traffic stop, you may or may not know the reason we're actually stopping you. Even if you know you've committed a violation, that may not be what we're looking at. So as we come up, you're going to see us use caution. We may stand or do things in a way that you don't think is normal. Don't worry about that. Just be relaxed and be reasonable. Keep your hands up where we can see them. If you're the driver, have your hands up on the steering wheel. If you're the passenger, have them out in your lap. You don't have to hold them up in the air or stick them on the glove box, but keep them visible. And be reasonable. Comply with our commands. Comply with our requests. If we ask you questions, be honest and be truthful. Also remember that even though you may know you were speeding or ran a stop sign, we may be stopping your car because it's a suspect or it fits the description of a vehicle that was just involved in an armed robbery. Again, it's very important that you just relax and comply with what we ask you to do.
And don't forget, being polite and courteous always helps. Answer all the officers' questions and don't use any excuses. They've heard them all.
If you are armed on a traffic stop, you have a concealed weapons permit, just a couple things to remember. We're probably going to see that when we go back to our car and run your name. It's not a big deal. You have a lawful right to own the firearm. Some things to not do is we get to the car, you can tell us that you're armed, tell us that you're carrying the weapon, but don't reach for it, or don't, as you're telling us you're armed, abruptly reach for your driver's license, because we may mistake that. So again, just be reasonable and stay relaxed. There's nothing wrong with being armed. Just remember, any of the things that we're doing are not only for our safety, but also for yours.
Of course, you can follow the best advice and avoid all of this by just driving the speed limit and obeying all traffic rules. If you have more questions about what you should or should not do during a traffic stop, contact your local police department. You're watching The Badge. If you're a gun owner, you always want to stay proficient with safety guidelines. Sergeant Matthew Coles is a 13-year veteran of the Spokane Police Department. He is the range master for the Spokane Police Department's training facility and reviews some important safety tips when handling a handgun.
I'm Sergeant Matthew Coles with the Spokane Police Department. Okay, so today we want to talk about some universal principles in handling all firearms. The first thing we want to do when we're handling any firearms is to make sure that it's safe to do so. With this firearm, we can see that there's no magazine in the gun, so the source of ammunition for it to reload is gone. The action, or the slide, is back, which allows us to see into the pistol to see that there's no ammunition in the gun itself. And looking down the barrel, we can see that there's no ammunition in the chamber. The first universal firearm safety rule is to treat all guns as if they're always loaded. So even though we've just done an inspection on this particular firearm, we still want to treat it with the utmost respect. The second firearm safety rule is to never point the pistol or the weapon at anything we're not willing to destroy. The third universal firearms rule is to keep your finger off of the trigger until you're on target and ready to shoot. And this is commonly referred to as the index rule. So if we're holding the firearm, we're going to have our index finger along the frame of the pistol. The fourth universal firearms rule is to know our target and what's beyond. Today our target is a paper target and our background is a 30-foot berm. So we're in a very safe environment for firing using firearms today.
While shooting, it's imperative to always wear proper hearing and vision protection. And since we have a safe place to practice, we're now ready to improve our shooting skills. Sergeant Coles advises you have a good stance. This is for balance and allows you to better absorb the recoil of the gun. Lean slightly into the target. Make sure you grip the pistol properly. Until you are ready to shoot, be properly indexed on the frame of the pistol, holding the pistol as you would in a comfortable handshake. When you point in on target, you want to focus on the front sight, keeping it even with the rear sight, and level across the top. Then, slowly press and hold the trigger to the rear. When you're finished firing, once again, bring your weapon to low guard.
All right, so we've had a good time at the range. We've safely practiced and worked and improved on our shooting skills. We need to prepare the pistol for our trip home and do that safely. You'll release the magazine and remove it from the handgun. Now with your support hand, you're gonna go up, rack the slide to the rear. We've kicked back around. Now can we lock the slide back? Good. Go ahead and look, feel, and look again. Make sure there's no ammunition in the pistol itself and nothing in the chamber. Once we've done that, because we're paranoid and we want to be sure, go ahead and lower the slide down, point in on target, and do one last good, nice, easy trigger press. There you go. Okay, so the gun's dropped the striker on an empty chamber, and it's safe to be put into your carry case to return home.
If you're a gun owner, it's important to receive training to use your weapon properly. Most gun shops offer safety courses or know where you can find one. It's your right to own a gun, but it's your responsibility to know how to use it properly. Next on The Badge, Frank Harrell of the FBI talks about malware cybercrimes and how thieves thousands of miles away are stealing your money. You're watching The Badge. You're watching The Badge. It used to be that you just had to worry about someone picking your pocket and stealing your wallet. But today's criminals can drain your whole bank account through your home computer, thousands of miles away.
So when's the prom this year?
Sometime in May.
О, мои друзья идут закупаться. Сейчас очень легко украдем у них деньги.
The FBI's Frank Harrell explains how intelligent software planted in your computer allows criminals access to your money.
I'm Frank Harrell with the FBI. One of the things that we see today that really predominates much of the fraud that is occurring via the computer is the use of malicious software by professional cybercriminals. Typically offshore. It could be in Russia, the Ukraine, but really anywhere in the world, Brazil, Mexico, Canada, and some here in the US. What it is a piece of very intelligently designed software that sits silently in a compromised computer waiting, lurking if you will, for the individual to enter credentials, a user ID and password. And this software is so intelligent in its design that it will actually parse out banking user IDs and passwords. There are pieces of this software that are so sophisticated, it will actually instant message the cyber criminal so he or she can use that real time within seconds of the person entering those credentials in their home computer.
Your information is then stored in servers somewhere in the world for later use, and most likely sold to other criminals who will steal your money.
Алло?
Да, у меня очень много номеров для тебя. Они все хорошие.
Сколько ты хочешь за них?
$150 за 100 номеров.
Я думаю, это слишком много для меня. Я тебе могу дать $100 за новых номеров. 100 номеров.
Ладно, по рукам.
Ладно, давай, увидимся.
Agent Harrell warns that this is not the only way criminals are looking to swindle your money. Don't get sucked into a work-at-home scheme. It may seem innocent at first, but you might be asked to commit a crime.
Something we need to do a good job of educating the public about is the use of what we call the money mule. And those are individuals here almost always in the U.S. that succumb to the opportunity to take advantage of a work-at-home ad or scheme that has been posted online, posted on monster.com, or any number of sites that offer online job opportunities. What they almost always involve is asking that person to use their checking account or to open a bank account to receive wire transfers that are actually the fruits of a criminal scheme, and then those individuals are instructed to transfer those funds overseas, usually keeping a percentage of the monies they received. In almost every case, any kind of an opportunity like that, where you're asked to wire transfer money or receive funds, is nothing but a fraud scheme in 100% of the cases.
So, how can you better protect yourself from all these intrusions? Agent Harold advises you start with a fresh operating system on your computer to ensure you have a clean computer. Make sure the system is updated automatically, and be sure to install a current, updated security suite.
Something that is abundantly clear today is that everyone, all of us, use the internet, should conduct business online, should conduct financial transactions online and bank online, but you have to do it safely. Two things that I think we can all keep in mind that would be very helpful to every one of us, and that is, number one, be cautious and question who it is that's asking you for personal information. If you're not sure it's legitimate, don't supply the data. If you're getting an automated phone call to enter an account number and a PIN because your, quote, debit card's been disabled, that is, in every case, a fraudulent attempt to obtain personal identity. The second thing is, if it's too good to be true, it is. That's an old adage, but it holds true today. If you're being asked to wire transfer funds or you receive a cashier's check for over the amount of a purchase, in 100% of the cases, if you don't know the individual that is asking you to wire transfer funds, that's a fraud attempt.
Next, Special Agent Kevin Miller of the U.S. Secret Service explains a different kind of scam that seems unbelievable, but over the years many have fallen prey to the Nigerian black cash scheme. That's next on The Badge. You're watching The Badge, and we're alerting you to some of the most lucrative scams that drain Americans of their life savings. Nigerian scams have been going on for decades, and some are called 419 scams, which is the Nigerian penal code for an advanced fee scam. The scam involves you paying an upfront fee to receive millions of dollars. But of course, no matter how much money you give them, that big payoff never comes. One such scam is called the black cash scam. Agent Kevin Miller of the Secret Service explains how the scam works.
I'm Kevin Miller. I'm with the U.S. Secret Service. It starts off with a letter, with an email promising millions. The money's could be from a deposed dictator, it could be from a deceased Nigerian leader, whatever it may be. They will give you documents. They will communicate with you to make you believe that this actually exists. The crux of the black money scam is that they'll want to sell you the chemical that actually takes the black off the money. In other words, the money has been contaminated in some form or fashion, and they are the only ones that have this special chemical that can actually take the black ink off the money so it is actually passable. Again, it's an elaborate scheme. A lot of the times the communications are on what you would consider official letterhead, Nigerian letterhead. The common errors with those letters are, number one, grammatically they're incorrect. They're always asking you to send money up front. It's very urgent that you respond to them quickly. Those kinds of things. And again, it's a back and forth communication till you finally get to the point where you have given them some money. They finally are going to come out and meet with you. And ultimately, the goal was for them to get more money from you.
Robert, I'm in the parking lot waiting.
Once again, the fraudster will come up with elaborate stories to get your money. In fact, they'll go to great lengths to make the scam look real.
They want to put it in something that would make you feel like it is a very valuable item by putting in this lockbox. And then what usually happens is initially the fraudster will use props, face masks to kind of even lure you a little bit further into the whole mystique of this fraud, because he'll tell you that the chemicals are so highly poisonous and they could really injure you if you didn't wear the mask properly and go through the procedures that he's telling you to go through in order to steal your money. So you'll see in this particular case there's bricks and bricks and bricks of it. And obviously when they go through this process, they'll actually pull out the very first one, which will actually be a genuine $100 bill that's been doctored and chemically induced to make it look black. and they pour their solution on it, and it actually takes the blackness off, and you see it's a genuine $100 bill. Now this, of course, is all being done in the dark, because also they'll tell you that it's very light sensitive, and if you expose it to light, it'll disintegrate all the money and you won't get anything.
To help put you further at ease, the scammer might even offer to let you hold on to the box with the alleged cash until you receive the special chemicals reminding you not to open it until you are in a dark room and ready to clean the cash. The box and its contents are worthless, and the scammer is on a flight back to Nigeria with your money. The best advice? Don't even respond to those fraudulent letters in the first place. What do the U.S. Marshals really do? We've seen movies and learned about legendary marshals in history class, but you might be surprised how many jobs they have. That's next on The Badge. They've been immortalized in history in Hollywood. They're defined as American heroes, and their stories are now legends written in American history. They are the U.S. Marshals. Robert Forsyth was selected by President George Washington to be the first United States Marshal for the state of Georgia, and also became the first U.S. Marshal to be killed in the line of duty. Wyatt Earp and the Earp brothers are the best-known frontier lawmen of the American West. Wyatt survived dozens of gunfights due to his extraordinary patience and determination. Then there was Wild Bill Hickok. His skills as a gunfighter and his reputation as a lawman provided the basis for his fame, although some of his exploits may have been stretched a little. Best known for catching wolves alive with his bare hands, John Abernathy earned the nickname Catch 'em Alive Jack by capturing hundreds of wolves and coyotes single-handedly without ever having to kill one. He would prevent them from attacking him by cramming his hands down their throats. During his career, he worked as a U.S. Marshal, Sheriff, and Secret Service agent.
James H. Meredith is formally enrolled at the University of Mississippi.
In the 1960s, the Marshals were on the front lines of the Civil Rights Movement. In September '62, President Kennedy ordered 127 Marshals to accompany James Meredith, an African-American wanting to register at the segregated University of Mississippi. Their presence on campus provoked riots, but the Marshals stood their ground, and Meredith successfully registered. Marshals continued to protect Meredith during his first year at Ole Miss. Few people haven't heard of the U.S. Marshal Service, but most people don't know exactly what they do. For the Eastern District of Washington, the U.S. Marshal is Mike Klein.
I'm Mike Klein with the United States Marshal Service. The most frequent question that I get is, what does the Marshal Service do? Because most people, I find, really don't have a very complete idea, if any idea, what the Marshal Service does. So the biggest misconception is about the entire Marshal Service.
The U.S. Marshal Service is the oldest federal law enforcement agency, created by the first Congress in 1789. Each United States Marshal is appointed by the President of the United States and subject to confirmation by the United States Senate.
There's 94 appointed United States Marshals in the United States. That's dictated by judicial districts, as we are very much connected with the United States courts. I was selected and confirmed by the Senate and appointed by President Bush.
Among the many other duties assigned, the Marshal Service is responsible for protecting federal judges, apprehending wanted fugitives, protecting witnesses, and transporting federal prisoners. The Marshal Service is in charge of security at all federal court buildings and monitor those who enter. Kevin Kilgore is the Senior Inspector of the Marshal Service in Spokane and works under Marshal Klein.
I'm Kevin Kilgore, United States Marshal Service. Each judicial district in 94 districts in the United States has a judicial security inspector assigned to that district, and they're responsible for the overall judicial security aspect of the district, which includes both proactive threat investigations against the judiciary and the court family, and then the physical security of the buildings.
Threats are received at the courts on a regular basis in various ways, and each one is taken seriously and investigated. One recent incident was the delivery of an envelope containing a white powder.
There's been several incidents of white powders being mailed in the United States. The United States courts is the largest occupier of federal leased and owned space in the United States, and naturally the courts obviously receive inappropriate mailings or threatening mailings involving hoax substances such as white powder.
The marshals have extensive authority to support and protect the federal courts and carry out all lawful orders issued by judges, Congress, or the President. That includes everything from serving subpoenas and making arrests to renting courtrooms, jail space, hiring bailiffs, and in the old days, even janitors.
We've gone through many changes in duties, from collecting taxes in the old days to a little bit of everything, because frequently the marshal and his deputies were the only government representatives within a particular state or a particular district for a number of years. So it's transpired from there, and it so matches currently the office of sheriff in the counties in which we work. The jobs are very similar. It's just we have a bigger jurisdiction.
Recently, the U.S. Marshal Service organized dozens of officers and agents from a variety of federal and local law enforcement agencies. Their target, 75 fugitives in central Washington. Robert Doty is Supervisory Deputy U.S. Marshal and was in charge of coordination for Operation Clean Sweep.
I'm Robert Doty with the U.S. Marshal Service. As a Supervisory Deputy U.S. Marshal, I supervise the general operations, which includes getting prisoners to court, providing security for the courtroom. I also supervise the warrant task force, which includes getting warrants from the federal side of the house and the state. For Operation Clean Sweep, I did the operation plan, set it up, got all the people invited, got the guys in line to pick out which warrants were going to work, made the team assignments, who's going to do what, made sure we had the equipment like radios, and for example, Border Patrol provided a helicopter for us, state police an airplane, made sure all that stuff was in order, and just made sure everything was set up the way it was supposed to be. In my opinion, it turned out pretty good. I believe we got 32 people in 2 days, so it accomplished what we were after. We got some people arrested and off the street.
It was a time for us to test out some new resources that we had originally not here in the district. We also looked at an area that we felt was probably the most in need of extension of resources where we can come in and help local law enforcement. As you know, the gang activities all over the state and really all over the nation are becoming very epidemic and problematic. So that was one of the reasons we picked the area that we went to. We combined with just about every federal law enforcement agency that is represented in this area, along with many police departments and sheriff's offices. So we had a wide range of people. It came together very well with the help of some of my people. I certainly am not going to take credit for perhaps anything other than the original idea, but it was very well prepared, very well planned, and it was executed with no injuries, and we just had very few problems.
Although many arrests were made, the Marshal Service can always use your eyes and information.
For us, in the Marshal Service in particular, where we need the most assistance from the public is again with our fugitive mission. We're looking for fugitives all over the world, and we can't do it without the help of someone.
You can help capture a fugitive. Visit the U.S. Marshal's website for a current list of the top 15 most wanted fugitives. Keep your eyes open and call the police if you see one of the Marshal's most wanted. This is The Badge.